Thanksgiving, how it started and how we celebrate now. Thanksgiving is a holiday with a long history going back hundreds of years. To understand it, we need to start in the early 1600s when a group of English people, known as the Pilgrims, came to North America. They were looking for a place where they could practice their religion freely. In September 1620, 102 pilgrims sailed from England on a small ship called the Mayflower. Their journey was rough and dangerous, but after 2 months at sea, they finally reached land in November 1620. They landed much farther north than planned and ended up in what we now call Plymouth, Massachusetts. Arriving in winter made things very hard for the Pilgrims. They had little food, no shelter, and no experience with the land. That first winter was deadly, leaving only about half the Pilgrims alive by spring. Those who survived were determined to stay, but knew they needed help. In March of 1621, a Native American man named Samoset came to the Pilgrims' camp. He spoke a bit of English, which he had learned from English fishermen in the area. Samoset introduced the Pilgrims to another Native American named Squanto, a member of the Patuxet tribe. Squanto's story was tragic. Years earlier, he was captured by English explorers and sold as a slave in Europe. After escaping and returning home, he found that his tribe had been killed by disease. Squanto became a guide and teacher for the Pilgrims. He showed them how to grow corn, fish in the rivers, and find other food sources. Without his help, many more Pilgrims would have likely died. Squanto arranged a meeting with Chief Massasoit of the Wampanoag tribe. Massasoit was careful, but recognized that the Pilgrims could be helpful friends against other tribes. They agreed to help each other and live in peace. By the fall of 1621, the Pilgrims had learned to farm, fish, and gather enough food to survive. To celebrate their harvest and to give thanks, they decided to have a feast. Chief Massasoit and 90 of his men joined the 50 remaining Pilgrims for a 3-day gathering. They ate foods that were new to the Pilgrims, like deer meat, corn, and shellfish, along with their own crops. This feast wasn't called Thanksgiving. It was just a harvest celebration. The Pilgrims had days of Thanksgiving, but those were religious days of prayer, not feasts. However, this event became known as the First Thanksgiving because it was a rare moment of peace and unity between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people. Unfortunately, this peace did not last. As more English settlers arrived in New England, they took over native lands, leading to increased tensions between the settlers and native tribes. This led to King Philip's War in the 1670s, one of the most brutal wars between Native Americans and settlers. Many tribes fought, and the Native Americans suffered great losses, changing their lives and lands forever. Thanksgiving as we know it today became a holiday much later during the Civil War in the 1860s. During the Civil War, President Lincoln made Thanksgiving a day for Americans to come together and give thanks. But it also reminds us of the hardships Native Americans faced from colonization and conflict. In 1863, he declared the last Thursday of November a national day of Thanksgiving. Today, Thanksgiving is a day when people in the United States come together with family and friends to share a meal and give thanks. The feast usually includes turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and pumpkin pie, foods that weren't part of the first Thanksgiving. For many Native Americans, though, Thanksgiving is a time to remember the hardships their ancestors faced when settlers arrived. Some Native people mark it as a national day of mourning to honor their history and losses. Thanksgiving is a holiday with a mix of meanings. It's a time to be thankful for what we have, but also to remember the early struggles between settlers and Native Americans. It reminds us to appreciate peace and kindness between different people, even when times are hard. Thanksgiving is a chance to look back, be grateful, and think about respecting and understanding each other's history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. We've got lots more interesting videos on the way. Stay tuned.